Hi, I'm here to talk about Charles. Charles is the Emperor, and he is pretty much the main villain of Code Geass. Not necessarily that he's the villain that has the most screen time or shows up the most, but is the most hated villain by Lelouch, the one that really impacts the plot the most. Charles is very important. And Charles is a great example of that sort of big villain that they're trying to build up to. And like, for some shows, they have an archenemy that shows up right away. The hero foils the villain's plan in each episode, stuff like that. But there's other shows that have an ongoing storyline where they're really trying to build a villain up and have him eventually become the biggest threat. And sometimes the hero will be fighting their henchmen, even their relatives, stuff like that, until they get to that big villain. And that's pretty much what Charles is in Code Geass. If you haven't seen Code Geass, but here's an example of a popular show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. What they do with Charles is very similar to what Avatar: The Last Airbender did with Fire Lord Ozai, where Aang and the other heroes, they were fighting against Ozai's son, his daughter, and then people that work for him, Shao. They were fighting people that were associated with Fire Lord Ozai before they finally got to Ozai, that big villain they were building up. So Charles has a similar role to that, where he's that big villain they're constantly trying to build up to. And I think that Code Geass really did a great job with Charles. In season one of Code Geass, he doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of screen time, but he really leaves a big impact. For a lot of the season, he has these little cameos and they're fun, but when he gives that big speech, that is really shows what Charles is like as a character, his messed up morals, why Lelouch resents him so much. It really is a great way of showing what this character is like. And in the next episode, showing more of how unlikable he can be. And now we're able to sympathize more with Lelouch because of what his father was like and what he did to him. And in season one, we also see brief glimpses of Charles and has that great scene where he's laughing at a time where it's really not appropriate to be laughing. I love that moment. And so Charles is kind of this mysterious character in season one who had some great moments, didn't necessarily have a whole lot of screen time, and in season two they really got to have a lot of payoffs. We got to see Charles interacting with Susaku, which was really interesting, and we got to see more of Charles actually planning stuff. And then when Lelouch finally confronted him, it was a big deal, so they had been building up pretty much since the first episode, and it was great to finally have that. And we got to see that Charles is a very villainous person. That's still true, but he does have more humanity and more of what could be considered good intentions than what Lelouch thought. And I thought that was fascinating because Charles, he really seems like that character that says really mean stuff and is very terrible to everyone, that character you're supposed to root against. And he is still that character to a certain extent, but he does have a reason for acting that way. He suffered similar tragedies to Lelouch did, and Lelouch, in a weird way, becomes similar to his father in a messed up way. And Charles is a very villainous person, but a somewhat, I don't know, likable, but somewhat understandable how he turned up the way he did. And he has this very messed up worldview that's fascinating, but very wrong. But it makes him more interesting than that villain that's just like trying to take over the world because they want to be powerful and stuff. There's more to Charles than that, and he really is a very interesting villain. And a great voice, very much makes his presence known when he's on screen, and a very memorable villain that really impacts the plot.